Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's a rather damp and drizzly morning here in Staffordshire. Anyway, I am Alan Cox and I'm glad to be back again. And with me is my good friend and colleague, David Parry. Good morning, David.
Oh, Barracuda, good morning. How are you?
Yes, indeed. Right, everybody, excuse me. What's been going on? My laptop. To say it has been having problems for such a long time is an understatement. So my son Andrew said, "I'll fix it for you, Dad," and he did this week, right? And I only had it back off for him. Uh, when did I have it back off him? Friday, and well, I picked it up from a friend, his friend's house, and then I couldn't get anything to work, so he had to come yesterday morning, and he sorted it out for me. And it's crazy because you're used to everything being where it is and everything, and now it's almost like I've had a new computer. So we'll see whether the connection is any better. I mean, where I live, it isn't the greatest connection in the world, but let's see. Hopefully, there'll be no gremlins in there, David, to spoil it this morning. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, Alan. Forging ahead, onwards and upwards.
Indeed. What's life on Butte like today? Is it nice weather or?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, we're not so far away. If you listen to some people speak, I'm not aiming at anyone in Staffordshire. If you'd think we were in outer Mongolia as opposed to the Hebrides.
I love Butte.
Well, yeah, I mean, Butte's gorgeous, and it's not so far away. But yeah, I mean, it's cloudy, overcast, a bit misty, so very Scottish.
Yes.
Yeah, not really raining yet, but rainy. The local the annual fun fair is packing up. As I'm sat here looking at the sea, and good riddance. Don't let the door hit your arse on the way out, because it's not so much the carnies. It's the blind drunks, most of whom are from the mainland, that
Yes.
go to the fun fair and then decide to shout and scream outside our front window all night.
It's really strange, because it sometimes some afternoons if we happen to be in, Anne likes to watch a program called Escape to the Country, and I've watched it a few times. And over the last couple of weeks, I've had a couple of different people, different couples on there, wanting to move to the older Butte. And it's showing them
Well,
around.
we don't want them. We don't want them. Piss off somewhere else.
One of the couples was Scottish from another part of Scotland, right? The others come from down south somewhere. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why Anne watches that program since you two are in the countryside.
well, that's true, we are. Yes. I think she just likes to see the houses, that's all. I think that's what it is. Oh, dear me, yeah. So, it's a strange time that we're living through at the moment, David. It's like um, if you if you speak your mind, whether it's like there are some people who don't want anybody to speak the mind. That I mean, there is, of course, there's boundaries. There has to be boundaries. You can't incite violence and racism. I totally understand that. But it does seem that if anybody is going to be outspoken, who is in a position that can affect what goes on in the world, then their life's in danger. And I just don't understand why that should be. I mean, what's just gone over, happened over in America. I mean, there's a protest, was it on Saturday in London? Okay, thankfully nobody has been killed, but there was fighting with the police, and you think to yourself, what's going on? I don't know how you look at it.
Well, the first thing that's going on is that the British police have lost all moral authority and they can shut their mouths. arresting 83-year-old priests.
Yeah.
She actually told the coppers, "I've been feeling poorly this morning," is a disgrace. Lifting people out of wheelchairs when they're blind to show them they're arrested is a disgrace. The British police are a disgrace. And if I'd have been there, I'd have been punching them as well. They have a mandate to serve the people, not vested interests. And they are an absolute shower at the minute, and they deserve they all deserve the sack. So please don't get me on the terribly biased and bigoted and useless British police force. I have no time for them whatsoever after recent events. And if they think arresting people for a tweet or arresting people for a view on social media is more significant than what's going on, than burglaries and local crime, then it really shows what they've become. They're a tool of oppression in the hands of people who want to oppress us, and I've no time for them anymore at all. How does that grab you, Aaron?
I have to agree with you. We're of the generation we've brought up to respect the police, and you go to them if you needed help, you was in trouble. I mean, I know this is all our yesterdays, but children going back in the 40s and perhaps early 50s, if they did anything wrong, then the policeman would clip around the ears, go back home, and then the parents would give them a clip around the ears as well. I mean, now you can't even say boo to anybody, can you? Look, I understand about violence, and it's not the answer at all. But I think we've gone from one side of the coin totally to the other side now, where you're not allowed to say or almost do anything. We're supposed to live in a democracy. I don't know how democratic it really is anymore. And when you get people like Peter Mandelson, you know, and Starmer knew about his association with Epstein before he appointed him over there. I mean, where's the morals? Where's all the morals gone? I mean, none of us are perfect, but you know, there has to be some kind of boundary, David.
You're saying lots of different things with lots of different
consequences.
I'm a pacifist, a lifelong pacifist, so I'd be punching people metaphorically as opposed to literally. Yeah, I mean, the Mandelson thing strikes me as bizarre in all sorts of ways. I mean, number one, he's gay. Number two, he's openly gay and always has been. So I don't actually know why he's fallen out of favour, because he's hardly going to these islands for girls. If he went, I mean, are people saying now that you can't know other people? You can't know somebody unless you know absolutely everything about their lives. I mean, is that now what's being hoisted to the mast? I mean, that's ridiculous. You know, when I go to our local butchers, I mean, you know, what are their private lives like? I don't know. Oh my God, am I guilty of something? I mean, that's just stupid. That's just stupid. If you're talking about Charlie Kirk, I mean, that is, I don't know what to even think about that. I hate talking about foreign countries anyway, because I always get the impression that I don't really know the ins and outs of what's going on. And, you know, I think it's dangerous for Brits to think they know that about Yankee land, because we don't. Not really. You have to live in a country to know about that country. I mean, you know, tragic. He had some very unpleasant views. A lot of the things he's being accused of saying, actually, he didn't. Some very unpleasant views, but that is not a reason to gun somebody down. You know, and I don't know. I'd be. People keep saying there must be boundaries to free speech, but it's the boundaries that seem to make a pressure cooker, because you can't say your piece and then you explode. So, again, that's the police telling us all there are boundaries, really. Well, you lot don't have any boundaries. You know, what? I don't know. I think you're saying all sorts of different things. And we certainly don't live in a democracy anymore. I mean, Starmer, a man I've no time for at all. I mean, he's one of the most, if not the most reviled prime minister we've ever had, who simply won't listen to his own people. So why is he there? And I'm not saying I'm on the side of the, what was it, 3 million marchers in London yesterday. What I am saying is there's a grievance, and grievances need to be listened to if you're in those positions, and he consummately refuses to do that. But of course we're back to the Middle Ages, really. The aristocracy never listened to the serfs. I mean, why should they? And we're back to square one. What do you think, Ellen?
Yeah, well, we're only told a certain amount what's going on, aren't we? I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories about, simply because we don't know exactly what is going on. You can't rely on the media anymore. I mean, they tend to be puppets of the administration that's in power at the time for whatever reason. And then you go for alternative news, and how unbiased is that, or is fake news? We've got to the stage now with technology that you can't tell what the truth is and what isn't the truth, and everybody seems to have an agenda. And I think it's a very worrying. Even something like AI, artificial intelligence, which used correctly is an incredible invention, but obviously it won't always be used for the right means. And criminals or people who want to orchestrate things their way they want it will use it to an incorrect end. So I do think we're at a very fine edge, the thin edge of the wedge, let's say, of what is going to happen in the future. I don't know if you think about that, David.
Oh no, I'm not as gloomy as that at all. I mean, things are changing, and they're changing radically. That doesn't mean that's bad. After all, what we already have isn't particularly worth saving in so many ways. No, I mean, AI is always very flattering about me, so I rather like AI. I rather like AI. No, it's all doom and gloom. I suppose if you're of that generation, present company accepted, but Inspector Plod. I mean, no, we get good riddance to all of it.
You do realise I say things to get you to disagree on purpose, even if I agree with you.
Well, I know, Alan. I know, and it's there's nothing wrong with that. But no, I just think, and I know you're not one of the people I'm having a go at. I think Dixon of Dock Green, and well, that was half true. It was never the whole truth. And all the certainties of British history. We've done some very, very great and beautiful things. We've also done some nightmarish and terrible things. The whole idea was that you don't duck one at the expense of the other. That was the whole idea. And why did that go horribly wrong in schools, as far as I can see, is because the ruling elite don't want us serfs educated, so they're axing courses and universities left, right, and centre. I mean, that's what's happening. We live in the clutch. We live in the claws of a ruthless governing elite. Who do I mean by that? The bankers, the financial interests, who just simply don't care about the lower orders, and we're all in the lower orders. What do you think, Alan?
Yeah, it's right. You just mentioned Dixon, Dr. and Jack Warner. Going back a good many years, Anne and I was called out to this lady down down south, and walked in there. An elderly lady, she's ever so nice. Walked in there, and she's got pictures of Jack Warner everywhere. And I said, I said, Jack Warner? She said, yes, my uncle. I thought that was quite amazing. Oh yeah, it's my uncle. So yeah, you just never know, do you? Who knows who's related to who?
I'm tempted to be nasty. I mean, is that the only role he ever had? I mean, he was an actor.
He did do. I have seen some of the other old films that he's been in. There was a series of films, excuse me, I'm sorry, made in black and white, and Kathleen Harrison was in them.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, yeah. And it was about a family, and I made 3 or 4 different films about it, and he was like the leading character in it. So yeah, he has been in others. And Andy Byrne, who took the part of his sidekick, he did a few films as well at the time.
What was that movie where he was with Dickie Attenborough? Brighton something. What was it?
Oh yeah. Was it? It wasn't Brighton Bell, was it?
Dickie Attenborough was the baddie.
That's right. Was it Brighton Bell? No,
I can't remember. Brighton
no.
Rock? Brighton Bell? I can't
Brighton
remember.
Rock. I think that's it.
Brighton
Brighton Rock. Yeah, I think it is Brighton Rock. Well, we are going back, aren't we?
Well, I mean, that was an incredibly good film. I mean, Dickie, a man I've huge time for. What a powerhouse of invention and creativity that man was. I mean, he ended up president of RADA. I mean, that's no mean feat.
That's
I
right.
mean, he had this incredible portfolio of movies, TV programs. I mean, he was a theatre boy. I mean, at heart, he was a theatre boy. And you can always tell that. I mean, even in his movies, the ones he directs, not simply stars in, he's a theatre boy, you can tell. This powerhouse of creativity compared to Jack Warner. And you think, well, wasn't Jack Warner the copper in that movie as well? I can't quite recall.
Oh, I think he was. It was the one called The Blue Light.
Oh, God, yeah, I'm getting lots of things. It's early in the morning. We went exploring the local castle yesterday, so I'm shattered today.
All right, yeah. Was that good? Was that good?
Oh, I mean, it's, if anyone wants to come here and look at the castle, I mean, my new play is based about a great wrong that was committed in the toll booth outside that castle. Some ladies were accused of witchcraft, some girls were accused of witchcraft in the past. There doesn't seem to be the slightest shred of evidence that they were witches. Whether you believe in witchcraft or not, people who do behave in certain ways. I mean, as far as I can tell, there isn't the slightest evidence. But anyway, some of them died, and I don't want to give too much away, because it links in with my work at the minute. So we were looking around the castle so I could get a sort of gist of the spacing of the place and where all these things might have taken place. Like
is it a national? Is it a National Trust building now?
I think so. Yes, and they're beautifully maintained. And then I noticed the part of the history they're concerned with are the attacks by the Norwegians. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
Because of course Bute used to belong to Norway, not Scotland. So a very, very, and it's a solid castle. It's not just a couple of brick walls, although that's there too. But quite a discovery and quite a treasure. I mean, why that's not used? That's what was at the back of my mind on location. I don't know.
Yes. One of the Scottish castles that Dan and I have visited is Elaine Dennett's castle. It's a beautiful castle, but it's very, very kind of eerie, the way it sticks out into the loch. They've used that in quite a few different films there. And if you buy Calendar of Scotland, the Scottish Islands, which we do every year, there's normally a photograph of Eileen Dennett's castle on there. But they don't seem to show anything of Bute. I don't know why. It's a beautiful island.
What I noticed, I mean, I was talking to Billy, who was sort of the guy running the place yesterday, and the curator, very fine man indeed, about paranormal activity in the castle, and there doesn't seem to be much, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
Because normally places like that are chock-a-block with it. Therefore, there's another question mark in my forthcoming work. Why isn't there reported paranormal activity? For those that believe in it or those that don't believe in it. What does paranormal activity show if you don't believe in it? It doesn't show that you're mad. it shows that there's an atmosphere to a particular place, and certain people's beliefs about a place are very active.
Yeah.
It's not like nothing is happening at all. I don't understand what the skeptics are saying there. And if you do believe it, of course, there's more going on than that. But to suddenly come across a castle like that with so much history, and then to be told basically there's zero paranormal activity, I think in itself is interesting. I don't know what you make of that, Alan.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was going to say perhaps because no violence has took place there, but having said that it used to belong to Norway and now it's Scottish, I presume there must have been some fighting for one country to lose control over an island that's so close to the mainland of Scotland. Um, so yeah, that does beg a belief, really, why that is the case.
Well, I mean, another thing that links in with Dickie Attenborough, I wasn't just flying off at a tangent,
Yeah.
was he used to live here.
All right. Okay.
So Butte has a reputation for old theatricals, myself included.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a magical place, Alan. It's a magical place, and as I say, the witches of Butte is the one of the major themes in my next play.
I visited Butte twice. I have, and both were when I was working. So I didn't get to see a lot of the island. I was more, I suppose, interested in earning a living at the time. But I do remember the first time that I went there. I was by myself. I was driving along the top end through Loch Gilbert. Oh, I forget how you pronounce the name now. Anyway, I came to this clearing and I pulled over and I looked down and I could see the Kyles of Butte and the sun was just starting to set and it was absolutely beautiful. It just so magical. And then I caught the short ferry from the north end of the island across, and I stayed in a hotel, literally, probably not far from where you live. The hotel was like on the banks of the sea there. It was just down from the ferry port. You probably know the hotel.
Oh, I mean, there are lots nowadays, Alan. I mean,
Yeah.
they tend to specialise in very high quality B&Bs nowadays. I mean,
Yes.
there are a couple of hotels, but mostly it's B&B activity, I think. But even then, I mean, the standards are so high. But I
Yes.
think that's true across Scotland, not just the Hebrides. Well, they're particularly high in the Hebrides. But I think the Scottish have managed to preserve not only their sense of nationhood, whatever that means in a world like ours, but they're also sort of proud of their history. And they, unlike down south, they don't pretend it's all hunky dory and hugs and kisses. I think they can be much more realistic than people down south. Which is, I was saying earlier, the idea of changing the curriculum in history and cultural lessons and humanities and all that sort of stuff originally down south was that so you got the full story, not just a part of the story, that it wasn't, Britain went everywhere and everyone ended up dead, so it wasn't just that. Or that we went everywhere and the empire brought peace and harmony and progress. It wasn't just that, because both are true, but both are not true at the same time. But of course, what no one was expecting, and we should have been, was the authorities, the Department of Education, to suddenly start axing huge levels of staff, whole colleges, whole university departments. No one was expecting that. So as I say, we're back to square one.
I'm just thinking, you mentioned the paranormal and that. You know that I've been to most places in Scotland, not everywhere. I'd love to go to the Shetlands and that, but I've been across to Orkney, and Orkney is quite an incredible place as well, because you've got the Stones of Bronte. Nobody, just like with Stonehenge, they're not as spectacular as Stonehenge. They're not that eye in effect, but they're really big stones, but it's just that they're not eye. And people don't know how they got there. And there's a kind of magic about the island as well. And also when Anne and I stayed in Inverness, and we went along the Firth of Forth coast road, if you can call it that. It is right by the Forth, and you pass Culloden Moor, and we went on there. It was out of season, but we went on there, but it's still light, about 8 o'clock in the night, and went. And the visitor centre had closed, and there was just a couple of vehicles and a motorbike on the car park. And basically, the few people that was left on over there was walking off, and they said hello to us and that. And I've put this in my book. It's quite an incredible experience, David. There's a lectern there that was explaining about the war, if you want to call it that happened there, 1746, against the English. And we walked round, and if you ever go there, they've got the fields, the moor, actually cordoned off into sizes like a football pitch. And they've got this merino sheep that are moved from one area to another to keep the gorse down. And we'd walked all the way around, and we could look back at where this lectern was, and there's trees around it. And I was looking over there, and Anne was looking the other way. And I saw this figure of the lectern dressed in like warrior gear from, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Well, I didn't actually see that to start with. What happened was that on top of the lectern, I could see like this. It looked like a round ring, and I could see it's like brown and like a yellowy colour. And he started going fast from side to side, literally across the lectern, backwards. And I said to Anne, just look at this. And then this figure stood up, moved to the side, and this really angry man in spirit was standing there. It's almost like it got. You couldn't tell what kind of footwear it's got. It almost looked like that was bandaged up in cloth or something. And he was angry. And then in front of me, suddenly appeared in spirit all these fighters, warriors fighting one another. And I stood there and removed some of these, 84 of them. I wanted to go back properly to spirit. And he was angry at that, really angry. And anyway, we left the moor, and the following day decided to go up, right up to the very top. And anyway, we went over onto Orkney, and then we stayed near John O'Groats. And then on the way back, we came not on the coastal road through the centre, and there's this really, really nasty bend. And this Arctic lorry was coming, just two-way traffic coming towards us, and this blacked-out car overtaking him on the bend, and there's a big ditch on the side. And I said to Anne, "That's it, we've had it." And I was braking hard, and I could hear the lorry driver's brakes as well. And this car, all blacked out, missed us by inches. And then I was shaking. I don't know, the lorry driver must have been shaking as well. And then the picture of this soldier came right in front of me. His intention was trying to kill me for getting rid of his soldiers. So anybody who, I understand people could think, well, could something like that happen? But when you've lived through it, it's just there in your mind. You can't shake it off. From time to time, like now talking about it now, it's like reliving it, David.
Two reactions to that. Firstly, it's about time you put pen to paper and produced a bit more.
Yes.
Secondly, no, I think people who don't really understand the workings of spirit, of which sadly there are far too many nowadays, find all those stories incomprehensible. But if your life consists of being pissed in a bar morning, noon, and night, then you will, because life itself is incomprehensible to you. No, I mean, yeah, I mean, spirit intrudes into our world in all sorts of ways that most of your punters won't simply understand or expect. I mean, right. So let's use another word if people get uncomfortable with that. The
Yeah.
unconscious intrudes into our world in many ways, and we simply don't understand it. And there we are, because it's unconscious. We will never understand it. But something is going on, something of huge import about our lives, our histories, what it means to be human. And these things are very real and very active in our lives. What do you think, Alan?
Yeah, that's why I named the show Understanding Spirit. I mean, many years ago when I first started to do radio, the network that I was on, an American network, I said, we need a name for the show. And Anne said, why don't you call it Understanding Spirit? Because nobody understands it fully. I said, oh, that's a good title. And I've stuck with it all the way through, because, how do you understand spirit? So it's one of the great real mysteries of life, isn't it?
Well, I mean, also, dare I say, it's an infinite mystery. No matter where or who we are, we'll never really get to the bottom of it. But it is intimately a part of our lives. It can't simply just be ignored. I mean, the great religions themselves come from spirit. So I mean, I don't know. I just think people. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but some things are militating against ordinary people. The ruling elite, the banking classes, simply want servile wretches doing what they want, which is us. Therefore, we're not allowed to question, we're not allowed to think, we're not allowed to do this, we're not allowed to do that. And that's why our country, as I say, I don't want to talk about America. That's why our country is something of a pressure cooker at the minute. And, I mean, I was on a march years ago with one of the bishops of London in the reign of Tony Blair. I mean, that must have been about 1 million people. And I remember him saying to the press that evening, what march?
Yeah.
These people do not care. These people do not care. And if you're in a pub and a nightclub and, enjoy yourself, but if you think that's going to save you from the grim realities around us, you're deeply mistaken. And they're just about to bite ordinary people in the arse if we're not careful.
Yes. It's do you, I know you said that you think good things will come out of all this mayhem, and I believe that as well. But to what depths do us as a country have to go down to before the majority of people wake up and do something about it? I don't know the answer to that one.
Well, I mean, they're not waking up. I mean, some people are waking up. There were 3 million people on that march about yesterday. People are unhappy. They know something is wrong. Whether it is limited to the issues, I mean, there were so many different issues in that march. It's quite hard to know what to say. Everybody's together physically in that place and in that time, but everybody seems to be saying slightly different things.
Yes.
So that's why it's difficult to comment on. But the general feeling is one of unease, that things are wrong, and somebody needs to start listening. So there are signs, Alan. I mean, the bigger global picture. I mean, the banks and the financial institutes. I mean, people talk about the global economy. When it comes in, it's been well and truly firmly in for about 40 years.
You said something.
The banks don't want that to go anywhere.
You said something very interesting a few minutes ago. You said about 3 million people on that march, right, on that protest. Yet the media, well, I've been reading on here this morning, are trying to say there was only 150,000 there.
Well,
I
to
think,
be honest, it doesn't matter if it was only 10. The point
no,
is, we are unhappy.
yeah. Now, what I'm trying to get at is, well, like I said earlier, you can't believe everything that you're told, can you?
The media, I mean, you were right earlier, Alan. It just serves vested interest now. It's not even worth listening to. And the trouble with independent media is it's run by agendas.
Hmm.
I've been attacked in independent media without anyone bothering to check the facts. Um, so you're caught between a rock and a hard place all the time.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but I think the general feeling is that something's wrong and it has to change. We're in the middle. We're in no man's land between what was the past and what's coming next. That's the trouble. We're in the worst possible place to be. Now, esoterically, there are explanations for that to do with the different rays and the energies that are coming into force and the energies that are passing out of activity. On a sort of more practical economic and cultural level, power is shifting towards the east. Real global financial power is shifting away from America and the West. And who's to blame for that? Us. If we'd have all behaved half decently, then it probably wouldn't be happening. But we didn't. There's one demon that the human race is terribly bad at dealing with, and that's greed.
Mhm.
And too many people have been too greedy, and then everyone gets fed up with that. So, as I say, genuine political and economic power is shifting towards the east. The Western authorities could deal with that sensibly if they wanted to, but they don't. They'd rather maintain their privileges and cause as much mayhem as they can. I mean, like children in a playground, it's hard to sympathise with a lot of it, Alan. There's a grievance in Great Britain at the minute. It's not going to go away, and that's as much as I'll say. It will get worse, but will it lead to anything? And that's as much as I'll say.
Yeah, I think, I mean, if you look back on the history of the world, and if you look back at the history of our country, and by our country, I mean the British Isles, um, not going into the politics of, Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland and England all being separate entities, just say the Britain. Um, we've had a history of violence. Like most countries in the world. I mean, at one point, it was fighting between different areas, like War of the Roses. Um, you know, different kings ruling different parts of what is now England. It's so it's like mankind can't seem to live in harmony all the time. There has to be some kind of conflict going on. Um, I know it wouldn't it be lovely if mankind could get together and go, oh, look, there's enough there's enough food in the world for everybody. Nobody needs to starve. Nobody needs to die out of anger. Is that some kind of utopia, or do you think that was what God's intention was in the first for us collectively to sort everything out so we can all live in harmony? Um, I don't know how you look at that one.
Well, for me, that's very much a thought that belongs to the future. I mean, again, people need to read history more carefully. That though our ancestors lived in very different worlds from ours, there were much fewer people around. The human race wasn't as large as it is now, and they had none of the technologies we've got now. They had none of the knowledge that we've got now. I mean, these are huge advances, and they lived in much smaller worlds, mentally as well as physically. Um, you know, Therefore, there were different kings because they were tribes. Um, People, at least in this part of the world, left that behind them. But that's why there were different kings in different places. It's not because everybody was one nation and they fragmented. It's because there wasn't such a thing as a nation. excuse me. I mean, even nations have a history. I mean, 1848, the year when nationhoods are finally understood and people are talking about those things. I mean, there was no Italy. There were different areas of Italy. There was no Germany. There were different areas of Germany. There was no Great Britain. I mean, we were slightly ahead of them because we were a small island, and you could have central power directed outwards. But even that took time. To think that everything was like it is now back then is just not a grasp of the reality of what happens then, the facts of life back then. Is it utopian to hope the world becomes a better place? Yes, but it's a utopian thought that belongs to the future. When we can all see each other and meet each other. I mean, people talk some absolute horse shit about Islam in the past because no one had ever met a Muslim. Who knows what these strange people think? Who knows what they're doing? My God, the Chinese, maybe they don't even exist. Maybe they're mythical.
Yes.
I mean, we've got to remember how much progress has been made and be grateful for that. And as I say, AI, for me, is yet another example of that. Can it all go horribly wrong? Yes, but so can anything else. Will it go horribly wrong? Probably not, for the simple reason that people are using it at the moment for undue levels of control, which shows the sort of people at the top of society and what they are, what they're like, and it's basically used for finance. As I was saying earlier, people in this country, one of the things that apparently was represented yesterday was that they don't want a global economy. As I said, there's been one in place for 40 years. What are you talking about? And also, the big banks and the financial institutions do want that, so that's going nowhere. It doesn't matter what people say. The financial institutions of every country want that. It's time to get a grip of where we are and see where we're going from here. I don't know what you think about that, Alan.
Yeah, I have to agree with what you're saying there. I was just thinking about the terrible thing that's going on with Israel, Gaza, and now spreading its wings out to some of to the Arab countries. And I can see from how things were in the past that before 1948, Israel didn't have anywhere to live, in a sense. And then they, through violence, grabbed the land that is now Israel. And yes, Israeli people have got the rights to live as well. But so are the Palestinians, and so is all the other races that live not that far away as well. And it's I think we're living in very dark times at the moment. Um, but it's steeped in history about what's gone over the centuries, and people think that it's just something that's just roused its ugly head now. That it's something that's gone on, from biblical times, really, isn't it, David?
Yeah, I mean, I've got my usual reticence about talking about other countries and other people's issues. I mean, the whole tragedy of what's happening in Israel and Palestine at the moment nearly beggars description. I think the Jews, which of course is very different from the Israelis, there are Jews everywhere,
Yes.
some of whom have nothing to do with Israel and the Israelis, like the Falashas, who are all black and Hebrew and Jewish. So that's not as straightforward as it seems. And on the ground, everything's always much more complicated than it appears in the media or elsewhere. But, certainly the Israelis were living on the edge of fear all the time, and that's bound to make you crazy. And the Palestinians were being persecuted all the time, so they're bound to be angry. It does seem to be the case that genocide is being committed. Children are being targeted, as far as we can tell. That is wrong. That is absolutely and totally wrong. And inexcusable. But where do we go from here? Attacking Arabic countries when they've nothing to do with it because you've got a private political agenda. I mean, that is, what if they attack first? I mean, no country in the world can live like that. What if?
That's
That
right.
makes no sense at all. What if it didn't happen? I mean, so that has to stop. But I mean, it could all stop tomorrow without American funding. I will say that, and the Americans simply don't want to do that. They don't want to make a moral choice. And that is one of the reasons why power is shifting eastward. What do you think, Alan?
Yes, I have to agree there. I know other countries' politics is their politics, but unfortunately, we live in a global world now, and something that's going on, I don't know, in 5 or 6 thousand miles away, whatever the distance is, might seem a lifetime away from us, but it isn't, is it? That is the whole crux of it. Is that what goes on in different parts of the world affects us? There's really, if you think about the world, there's only really, you can argue, three countries that are not immune but fairly safe from it all. Is Australia, Tasmania, and New Zealand, because they're so far away from. But even Northern Australia, I suppose, is in shouting distance of China and Japan, etc. But the rest of the world, and set past parts of South America, but the rest of the world really is within that umbrella where we could all be affected by it, especially with these long-range missiles that have developed now and that. So it's a very worrying time. We just want sensibility to take over.
Well, I'm not saying we turn our backs on the rest of the world. I've never said anything like that, or that we don't know what's going on there at all. I mean, that just means you're pigging in a bar morning, noon, and night. What my stance is basically is unwise to comment too deeply unless you've been there or you've lived there, because you're only getting what people are saying about the place, and that can be very misleading, particularly because everybody's got a different point of view. So we're aware that there's an issue and a disaster, a humanitarian disaster happening in that part of the world. More than that, I'm loath to say, because we don't know. I just wish it would stop. I wish people would see sense and do the right thing and worry more about their own lives and the people they love, and extend hands of friendship everywhere. I just wish that.
No, I agree there, because deep down there's no real reason for it, is there? And all wars in the end do come to an end after millions of people have suffered. And then there has to be negotiations at the table, and the end happens until the next conflict somewhere else. And you look at it like that, it just seems very, well, what a waste of time, energy, and lives.
Oh yeah, I mean, my trouble with warfare, and I'm bound to say this as a pacifist, is that nothing gets solved. People just end up dead.
Yeah.
So the same problems are still there, but lots of people are dead and can't fight about them anymore. So it doesn't mean they've gone away. People have to start wanting to talk to each other and learn about each other and feeling each other's pain and feeling each other's grievances. But as I say, we live in the clutch of a ruling elite that simply don't want those things to happen. I mean, a lot of them seem very happy that everyone at the bottom's fighting to death as long as they're not touched. And as I say, the human race needs.
Hello? 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 Hello, stop. No, David. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
I can there. I don't know what happened there. It just went
No,
dead.
I don't know. I don't know what happened then. So.
No. I was actually thinking, that since I've had the computer sorted out, I was going to say we've had no gremlins causing a problem until 6 minutes before the end of the show. So,
At least we got the show under our belts, Alan.
yeah, indeed. It's strange with these shows, David. Anybody listening, we haven't got a clue what we're going to talk about. It just happens, doesn't it, David? It just kind of happens, and I try to understand why it goes off in these different ways, but there has to be a reason for it. I suppose it leads to more conversation, whereas if you've got a set agenda, then that can become rather repetitive, can't it?
Yeah, we've adopted a stream of consciousness approach to this show. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Good old chinwag.
Yeah.
As I keep saying, the Saint and Greavesy of the psychic world.
Well, that's why I always advertise a show that we delve into life and the afterlife, because a lot of people think that life and the afterlife are totally separate. Well, they're not, are they? We're all forgetting about conflicts and that. We're not being morbid either. Death is always there with us, because being human, that's what happens in the end. And the fact that you've got this fine line connection, and as you said at the beginning, spirit is there. It is part of everyday life, whether we like it or not. So some people listen and think, well, what talking about Israel's got anything to do with it? What's talking about America anything to do with it, or China? The fact is, it is a connection that is there with spirit, isn't it?
Yeah, spirit's everywhere. It's everything. We're part of it. I didn't have the level of water I normally drink before the show. Excuse me.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think I might have made this gag before, and it's only funny because it's true. I mean, I remember spending an afternoon once trying to convince my mother, may the angels rest her, that there was life before death. I mean, it depends what you mean by death.
It is.
I mean, and if as I say, I'm nothing wrong with people enjoying themselves. I mean, I could party with the best of them. But if your life is only one big party, please don't expect to know much about life, or when the proverbial hits the fan, have much defences against it, because you've only lived part of your life, not the whole of it. What do you think, Alan?
I have to agree with that completely. I do. Time has virtually beaten us again, David. If anybody wants to know more about you or wants to contact you, what's the best way they can do that?
They can mind their business. That's what I say. Well, I'm on most social media platforms for my sins. Facebook, X, Instagram, and I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm about if people really want to get hold of me.
Same here, really. My website's derstandifspiri.com, and I'm there. Yes, some people might say why, but I am, like all of us. Anyway, I'm glad we've got this show under our belt. God willing, we can be here again next week, aren't we, David?
Oh yeah, looking forward to it.
Okay. Well, until we all meet again, I wish you all a very good rest of Sunday, and I hope your week goes well. So bye for now.